Visualizing and interpreting competitive data can be a complex task. That's why we've dedicated an entire series to it. As soon as leadership hears that you're doing competitive intel work, they're going to ask you to boil it down to one number. They want a singular figure to explain where you are priced relative to the competition. So how do you do that? I will show you how to calculate a sales-weighted price difference between you and your competitors so you can give your boss the number. So let's begin with a data table. It's your SKUs, your sales, and then the price difference between you and your competitors. For each competitor, you're going to take your item sales times the item price difference. You're going to sum all that up, and then you divide that by the total sales. A little wordy, but we're going to step through an example. Now, there are two reasons that we want to use a weighted average rather than a simple average. A simple average is much more susceptible to outliers than a weighted average. So, if for some reason there's a huge discrepancy in price between you and your competitor, where you're selling one and they're selling a case or vice versa, and maybe you didn't catch it, if that data slips through, it unduly skews the averages. So in that sense, the weighted average will be a truer measure of reality. The weighted average also has the benefit of giving greater importance to SKUs with higher sales. So on to the calculation. Here's a table that shows how to compute a sales-weighted price difference for only one competitor. You have your SKUs, your sales, the sales weight, and then the competitor one price delta and the weighted price delta. We can see in red at the bottom of this table, the bottom line, or the number that your boss is going to want to hear, is the competitor one is 3.73% below you from a sales-weighted perspective. So the sales weight column shows the sales for each individual SKU, and then we divide that by the total for all SKUs. Putting that in another way, SKU 1 has sales of $1 million, and that's out of $2,790,330. Okay, that means it's a 35.8% weight. Compare that against SKU 8. SKU 8 only sells $20,000, and if you divide that by that total of 2.7, almost $2.8 million, you get a weight of 0.7%, less than 1%. One other note is that the sum of sales weight has to add up to 100. You need to have 100% of your sales. That column that's the competitor price delta calculation, we're doing the competitor price divided by my price minus 1 times 100. What about that weighted price delta? We calculate that on a line item basis, so it's sales weight times competitor price delta. You add all those things together, and that becomes the weighted price delta, which for competitor 1, again, is negative 3.73%, which of course means that they're almost 4% below where I am. So it's best practice to provide context to a single figure, such as a sales weighting. You want to provide something else in addition to that, 4% below number. So I usually provide a range. Usually the minimum and maximum price difference. Sometimes that can get a little funny because minimums and maximums can be quite large. Maybe you do the 20th and 80th percentile. But what it's going to look like is the average is 3.73% below us, but the range is from negative 3% to negative 9%. The great thing about this formula is that you can calculate it for multiple competitors or multiple product families within a competitor. So you might be looking at competitor 1, but you want to compare how you stack up in product A versus product B. For product A, they might be 2% below, maybe product B, they're 3% above. It speaks to the competitive positioning in the market, and it's good information to have. You now have the tools to compute this however your boss needs to see it. Setting your competitive price strategy is one side of the coin, but on the other side lies execution. Vendavo Price Point helps you execute straightforward, scalable price management across your organization. With Vendavo, you'll improve pricing agility and stay ahead of changes to market dynamics.